Hello everyone, we've got a couple of big trades to discuss. As the Vegas Golden Knights have acquired Ivan Barbashev from the St. Louis Blues in exchange for a prospect, and Tanner Jeannot is headed to the Tampa Bay Lightning in exchange for a very big haul the Preds got. So we're going to discuss those two trades coming up right now. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video here at the End-to-End Hockey channel. I'll kick things off with this video to start by discussing the smaller of the two trades, and that is that the Vegas Golden Knights have acquired Ivan Barbashev from the St. Louis Blues in exchange for prospect Zach Dean. Now I think this is a really good move for the Vegas Golden Knights. They needed another top 9 forward to help them replace the loss of Mark Stone. I think Barbashev is going to do fantastic with the Golden Knights. He's a good middle six forward. He can help out in a variety of different situations. He could probably play on the power play, maybe even on the penalty kill. He's a very versatile forward, I think, and he should be able to play really well. I would not be surprised if he does get top 6 minutes. For me personally, I think he should start on the third line, see where it goes, but I definitely like this move by the Golden Knights. Barbashev's coming off a career season last year where he had 26 goals and 60 points in 81 games, and absolutely blew his career highs out of the water. And I hasn't done as well this year, only having 10 goals and 29 points in 59 games. But on the opposite side, he's also on the verge of hitting the 30-point mark for only the second time in his career. So even though he hasn't gotten 60 points this year, he's still having one heck of a season. So I think Barbashev in Vegas should do well. I think he should be able to play good, consistent top 9 minutes for the Golden Knights. And if he can play with a couple of good players, like maybe a Marchessault or a Eichel, I think he could do really well and have some of his point pace that he had last year. So I love this deal for Vegas. Barbashev was linked to the Golden Knights for a while now. Definitely a lot of speculation even before the Mark Stone injury that the Golden Knights like Barbashev and could acquire him. And I think this is a really good move. Now, the asking price that was sort of mentioned around Barbashev was like a second-round pick and a good prospect. So the fact that the Knights only gave up a really good prospect is mind-blowing to me. It's quite surprising that they didn't really have to give up much. Zach Dean is a really good prospect, though. I mean, Dean was a first-round pick back a couple of years ago for the Golden Knights. The Golden Knights now have had 6 drafts in their entire history, and they only have one first-round pick to show for it, and that's Brendan Brisson. So it's quite surprising that the Golden Knights don't have any of their other first-round picks. I mean, they had 3 in their first year, but Glass is in Nashville, Brandstrom's in Ottawa, and Suzuki's in Montreal. So this team does do really good drafting players. They just don't keep their players, and they trade them for assets so they can win now. So given the fact Dean was such a good prospect, I think it's possible that maybe the Blues win this deal in the future, but for now I think the Golden Knights do. But as for the Blues side of things, this is a really good ad for them. They have gotten a couple of first-round picks with the O'Reilly and the Tarasenko deals. They got a few assets with those ones as well. Now they add a blue-chip top-end prospect, and I think Dean is going to do very good in St. Louis. He's so far been playing in the QMJHL over the past couple of years. He had 21 goals and 52 points in 47 games last year, which was pretty good. But this year, he's already topped his goal total with 24, and is only a point off of what he had last year with 51 points. And he's also played 7 less games, playing 39 this year in the QMJHL. So Dean looks really good. I expect Dean to probably continue to play in the QMJHL this year, maybe play another year in the AHL next year, and then after that, he should probably be a consistent NHL forward. The Blues recently drafted Zach Bolduc, who's another pretty good center prospect. I think if you have Bolduc, Dean, and Thomas down your wing for the next couple of seasons, you're set at the center position. So really great move for the St. Louis Blues. I think Dean will fit in really well with the St. Louis in a couple of years' time, but good one-for-one move. Knights get a good middle six forward who can help at least a little bit recover from the loss of Mark Stone. I think Barbashev should fit in perfectly with that team. I think it'll be a really good addition for Vegas. As for St. Louis, they get Zach Dean, really good, maybe top 6 center in a couple of years' time. He probably won't do much right now, but given the fact this Blues team is building for the future, as it seems, I don't think it's too surprising that they would be willing to acquire a good blue chip prospect like that. So good for the Golden Knights to get the middle 6 forward, but I really do like the return that the Blues got in Zach Dean. And the other trade here I want to discuss today was a late night one from last night, as Tanner Jeannot was traded to the Tampa Bay Lightning. In return, the Nashville Predators get defenseman Cal Foote, and then a lot of draft picks. The Bolts' 3rd-round pick, 4th-round pick, and 5th-round pick in this year's draft, their 2nd-round pick in the 2024 draft, and their 1st-round pick in the 2025 draft. Now, this is a really big haul, and I'm quite surprised that the Bolts were willing to pay this for Tanner Jeannot, but if you look at Jeannot, he's actually a pretty good player. Jeannot is in the final year of his contract, having an $800,000 cap hit, and he is the type of forward that the Bolts would like to go after. He's a good third-line forward. He's a good physical checking forward. Fits what the Bolts have been adding over the past few years. If you look back, they added Coleman and Gaudreau. They've also added Paul. They added Hagel last year. So this is the sort of players that the Bolts are looking at. Good third-line players who can play a good, mean style of hockey in the playoffs. And I think this is a really good addition for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think Jeannot should do really good. Jeannot's also a restricted free agent, so they're not going to lose him for nothing. They should be able to work on an extension, not exactly sure how long it would be. But I do believe that they should be able to work out an extension, and I think this is a really good move for Tampa. He should be able to remain with the Bolts, maybe long-term if he's willing to sign a long-term extension, but I think this is a really good move. He should be able to round out that top 9 for the Tampa Bay Lightning this year. And I think if you have guys like Jeannot, Colton, Paul, maybe Hagel on that third line, they're going to have another really lethal third line to deal with. So, really great move for the Bolts. I like how Jeannot would fit in that Bolts lineup. I think his physical presence and his third line scoring ability is really great. He played a majority of the season last year on the third line for Nashville and did absolutely outstanding, putting up 24 goals and 41 points in 81 games, and was looking like he gives a possibility, very slight, but a possibility for the Calder Trophy last year. Meanwhile, this year he's sort of fallen off a bit, only having 5 goals and 14 points in 56 games. But the Preds also haven't done as well, and Jeannot's been up and down the lineup with the Preds trying to find good fits this year. So in Tampa, on a consistent third line like he was last year, I think he can hit those point totals that he had last year. So even though he has 5 goals right now, don't be too surprised if he fits in extremely well with the Tampa Bay Lightning. But the haul they had to give up was enormous. First, Cal Foote, really good young defenseman, former first-round pick back in 2017. The Bolts hadn't really been giving him time over the past couple of years. He only had 9 points in 56 games last year, only had 3 points in 26 games this year, so not really playing much time with the Tampa Bay Lightning. They still have guys ahead of him on the depth chart, so he has gotten into a couple games, but he's more like an 8th defenseman for Tampa Bay, so moving him for Tampa wasn't really bad for them, but I think if Foote can get consistent third pair minutes, he should be able to do a really good job as the third pair defenseman in the NHL. So I would not be too surprised to see Cal Foote do really well with Nashville in a third pair role, especially if they're considering moving guys like Fabro and Ekholm. But definitely think that this is a really good move for Nashville to get a good defender when they're probably going to move at least Fabro, if not also Ekholm, before the deadline. But the picks they get is a lot. So they get the 3rd, 4th, 5th round pick in this year's draft, a 2nd round pick in next year's draft, and a 1st round pick in the 2025 draft. Now, the 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks in this year's draft are more like 4th, 5th, and 6th round picks, given the fact that Tampa's probably going to have very late round picks again this year. So it would not be too surprising to me, at least, if the Bolts wind up picking between 25th and 32nd in the draft this year. And so it's more likely that they're high 4th, 5th, and 6th round picks than 3rd, 4th, and 5th round picks. Next year, we don't know how Tampa's going to do, but they get a 2nd round pick in next year's draft. Add that to the Jets' 2nd round pick they got in the Niederreiter, so they now have 3 2nd round picks in next year's draft, and a 1st round pick in 2025 that's top 10 protected. So, in my opinion, I don't think this is actually too much. I know the Bolts basically have no picks over the next couple of seasons, but given the fact that these are all most likely going to be lower end of the draft picks, especially if Tampa continues to do good, I don't think this is going to be too upsetting for the Tampa Bay Lightning to give up. And I think if they can continue to do well and fight for a playoff spot, those picks should be really low, and Nashville should be picking very low as well. So good move for both these teams. Tampa gets their third line physical forward who can really help them and be another good third line addition like they've had the past couple of seasons. And even though it's a big price to give up, they also gave a big price last year for Hagel, and look how he turned out with the Bolts. So I definitely think that this is a good move for Tampa. As for Nashville, they get a good third pair defenseman who can help with their team right now, and then they get 5 picks. First under 25, second under 24, and then 3rd, 4th, 5th in the 23 draft. It helps them with their draft capital. Not exactly sure how next year's and the years after will go, but the other ones will probably be lower end of the draft picks. So not too bad of a move, I think. In my opinion, the Preds aren't opening the deal, given the fact of the quantity of picks that the Bolts sent to the Nashville Predators. But if the Preds don't hit on very many of those things and Cal Foote doesn't do too well, but Jeannot finds his form from last year with Tampa, I think Tampa could easily win this deal. So I think Nashville and the Golden Knights do win this deal for now, but I think it's still possible for Tampa and St. Louis to wind up winning this deal. I don't think this is the last moves any of these teams will do. I think Tampa could still go after maybe like a depth defenseman if they wanted to. I think that would be a possibility for Tampa. Nashville's still sounding like they're going to be selling pieces. I still think Fabro and Ekholm could both be moved by the Preds. You got Barbashev now moved on from St. Louis. There's a couple of lower-end pieces who are printing UFAs, like a Josh Levo or a Thomas Greiss, who could be moved. But I wouldn't be too shocked if they also tried to move a defenseman like a Colton Parayko. And for the Golden Knights, I know that this is a good addition, good middle six forward, and Barbashev should help, but I wouldn't be too shocked if they went out and go out another forward, as that $2.5 million is good, but with the newfound cap space they have from Mark Stone, they still have a little bit more cap space to use, and wouldn't surprise me if they tried to improve that forward group a little bit more. So I will let you know what you think. What do you think of these two deals, and what do you think the Golden Knights, Blues, Preds, and Bolts will do next before the deadline? And that's all I'm going to talk about for this video. Remember to stay tuned. I'm going to be doing a Timo Meier trade video in the very near future, so keep an eye out for that. Also keep an eye out for my video tomorrow as I continue to discuss some more trade rumors and trades as well. So that's all I'm going to talk about for today. Remember to like this video and subscribe. I also do a blog. Check that one out as well. I will leave a link to that in the description below, and I can't wait to see you guys all for the next video. See you guys soon.